Okay, I'm going to start recording now, even though I'm not 100% certain that I'm ready, because I've got quite a bit to kind of run through with you. So, I've got all my stuff here. I was going to paint, I was going to use ink today, but I've changed my mind. I don't think that's necessary. So let me get this over here. I've got a lot on the table. I've got my cutting mat because I need to measure. I'm not going to be cutting, but I'm going to be measuring. And my ruler. And I've got a massive tracing pad here because I'm going to use that as well for something. Although that's not essential, that's just the way I'm going to do something. You may choose to do it a different way. Fine liners, I'm going to use those. Now, I think because I have to demonstrate to you, and then I have to go away and finish bits off and then come back, like this embroidered piece here, I'll put it on here. It kind of holds me up and by extension holds you up as well. So what I'm going to try and do today is explain what's going to happen next as best I can, and then let you, I need some more paper actually, but I've got that, it's just over, it's in the same room as me, it's just over to the side of me. Let you progress on your own with the full picture of what I'm intending to do, because I'm a bit worried, because I mean I love what's happening on Flickr, but I'm a bit concerned that my plans for my third sheet, some of you won't be able to do it because you've got a lot going on your second sheets. But that doesn't mean it's a waste of time for you, because you could just do another one. Do you know what I mean? Or you can adapt what I'm going to do to what you want to do. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is stick this on. So I've got my sheet here. Well actually no, it's not, that's not the first thing I'm going to do. I've got a lot of French knots down here, and I don't think you get the full benefit of them unless you actually see them in the flesh. But that little area there, to me, is really stunning. I'm just going to pull my seat in. Right, now part of me has been wondering about these circles, and I want to stitch around these circles. And again, this is something that I can't practically do on camera because it would take so long to do all three. But I can demonstrate to you how I would do that, and then I can do that at my leisure, and you can do it if you want to do it. So the thing, because it's paper, now I'm going to be repeating myself here, I know, for some of you. But again, there's newbies in this group who don't know this, so you're going to have to bear with me. If you're going to stitch through paper, make your holes first. Now I've still got my line there, okay, that I set to do the painting in. So around that line I'm going to make my holes first, and as I'm making my holes, I don't want to be left with a spare hole. So for each stitch I need an up and down. So I'm going to say up and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, all the way around here, to make sure I end with a down hole, so I don't have a spare hole. So I'm just going to start now, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now where's that up one, because it's dark there, I can't see. Up, wait a minute, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Trying to keep them equidistant and not go through my finger at the back. Up, down, 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 up, down. Now I'm getting near the end now, so I don't want to be left. I'm going to have to be careful how I space these. Up, down, up, down. So that's all the way around now. The holes are set in there. And I'm going to stitch them in white. Now obviously don't do them too close together, because if you do, what's going to happen is you're going to perforate the thing and the whole circle will fall out. So just be careful about that. Definitely don't do them too close together. So if I just start to stitch this, it's simple, just running stitch, cotton abroad in a sharp needle with a knot in the end of the thread. Go to the back, come up through any hole because the up down worked. Okay, so that's up and down. And the only advice I would give you now is to always turn to the back to bring it up. Don't start poking from the back to find the hole from the back, because you'll distort the front of your paper and you'll spoil it, okay? So don't do that. Now if I do this all the way around on all three, then that will define these, okay? And down again. And when I come up the next time, I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll do this at my own leisure. So I don't want to hold you back. Right, so, but you might think, what's the point, because you can't see it. Well, let me just say that when this is finished, okay, you can't see it when this is on top. That's very true. When you lift it up, you'll see it. Okay, it's extra. When you lift it up, it'll be there, be visible, okay? So that's the point. Right, so the first thing I want to do now is stick this on here. Now I've cut it out, I've got my pencil line for folding it on the edge, and you'll see that I've done the little half circles that I spoke about. What I'm going to do is lift it up, do that, get my fold line, which is marked in pencil. Actually, no, I'm going to fold it first because I think it'd be easier to do it that way. So that's my fold line, okay? Finger press it. And then hopefully, if I turn this right way around, that's going to go on there and it's going to look like it should look. Yeah, so that's that, okay? Like that. So turn it back. Double-sided tape. Now there is a case, if you've done other classes you'll know that I don't really ever stick double-sided tape directly to my work, okay? What normally I would do, paper, scissors, what I would normally do would be to put masking tape on the back of here and attach that to double-sided tape, and then in theory, if we were talking about paper like this, or a stronger paper, if you had to remove this at any time, because the double-sided tape is so sticky, if you had to remove that at any time, it wouldn't wreck your paper, because the masking tape, the double-sided tape would retain the masking tape and not your paper. But this wouldn't work with this because it's too fine. This paper's too fine, it would rip whatever happened. So if ever I need to remove this at a later date, then basically it's tough luck. I'd just have to cut it along this fold line perhaps to get it off and leave the folded over bit at the back. So I'm just going to pull this off. Now it's moved already, so what I need to do really is put it like that on my fold line, okay, and bring it this way. I don't know if it's moved again. Very carefully, right, no, we're okay. And then just press it down, okay, and then that will be stuck at the back hopefully. So that is that one done, okay, so that is stuck on now. That's absolutely fine, okay. So now if I put this on top, you can see what I was talking about in terms of that creating an interest at the bottom and making you want to lift up. So you're like, oh, what's going on under there? So you lift up and you see that, and you will also see these are stitched around, and these wonderful French knots, I do wish, I don't know, you might be able to see them properly, but I'm assuming you can't, and it really does make a difference. So there, so look at all the layers of interest now, and we're halfway there maybe, but there's still so much more to go on this. And what's going to happen is this edge is going to be scored, okay, up there, so that it folds up easily. And then the third layer will also be scored, but slightly shorter than this one, so they lift up properly, and they don't lift up together, they lift up separately, independently of each other. So that's that. And I mean, I was doing this last night and I was looking at that and I'm thinking, that's rubbish, it's absolute rubbish, it's a load of tat. But when you get it on here, honestly, and some of the work on Flickr, you could buy and sell me 12 times over. So that is what is happening here, right? So that's that. So now I want to do something on here, and this is what concerns me a little bit about a couple of you. Not in a bad way, but I blame myself, because I should have, if I'd have explained it more clearly, it was kind of like I was keeping you in suspense. I'm just going to turn this board over because I want the inches side, because it's more lines to work with on the inches side. So what I'm going to do now before I started this class, it was in my head for a while and I played a little bit with ideas, and it was practice for this class, and this is one of them. And this is one of the things I want to take forward with you in this class on this design sheet. Not this fabric piece, I don't like that, I think it's rubbish. There might come a point where I cut that down there and remove that fabric bit. But this is the kind of thing, similar to this, that I want to do on here. This is from a practice piece. So I'm just going to get off my chair again. And what I'm going to do, now, I'm going to mark it on the front, because I don't know actually. No, I'm going to mark it on the back, I think. Right, so, I'm going to mark it on the back. I've got a pencil and a ruler. And what I'm going to do first is mark my top line on the back. So I'm getting a straight line here. Now I'm going to come about 1.5 inches away from the bottom of that circle. Okay, and there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is because I'm going to be cutting the top sheet, to fit over these things that are going to be happening here. Okay, so I don't want to have to cut another circle for that and it run into whatever I've got to cut for here. So, and if I do it to there, okay, and then if I have, I would quite like it to be in the centre of the circle, to be honest. So, sorry, looking by eye, that's kind of in the centre of the circle, so that's alright. So I'm going to do it 1 inch long, 1 inch wide. So I'm doing it 1/2 inch away from the middle of that on each side. So that's the first one. And this is the second one. Right, so that's my line at the back. But now I want 2 different patterns going on within there. So I'm going to go to 1/4 inch there, and 1/4 inch here, and I'm going to do this for all 3. Okay, so doesn't look right, just give me a minute. 1/4 inch from here, so that's there and that's there. Is it? Right, I want 1/4 inch from there. Why am I struggling to do that? There. Well, because you're dumb, lady, dumb. That's not... Oh, do you know what? I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to take it. This is a centimetre ruler, but never mind. I'm going to take it 1 centimetre from that left edge. Don't ever come to me for maths lessons, honestly. Right, so then I'm going to put another line up there. Now I'm going to do this with all 3. Okay. Now how do I know at the front what's going on the back? Well, this is where the needle comes in again. So, and if I'm thinking this class is going to be finished in 2 weeks, I think I'm sadly mistaken, to be honest. I bet you we overrun. Anyway, so what I do now is on the back, I'm going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Now that's my top line. I'll be able to see that from the front. And I'm going to stitch that line. And again on the bottom, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. They're a bit close together then, but never mind. Right, so there on the right, so that's the extent of my area from top to bottom on the front, marked on the front. And now on these ones, I'm just gonna, excuse me, just randomly, I'm not doing up, down all of these lines, okay, down all 3 of these lines, and then they'll be visible from the front. And I am going to do this on every single circle. And what I'm going to do, when I've done this and I turn it to the front, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It hurts your finger, so maybe put a little bit of a band-aid or a plaster on your finger perhaps, because it can hurt the top of your finger. So I've got to do all 3 of these lines. I need to do all 3 on this one anyway, because I need to demonstrate what I'm going to do within these lines to you. Right, so that's the first one. Now, equidistant doesn't matter. I'm not going to stitch any of these. If I wanted to stitch these, I'd be doing up and down. Okay, that's what I'd be doing. Up, down, up, down, up, down. In fact, I might stitch the outer one, this one. Okay, but these 2, I'm not going to stitch. But then having said that, you don't always have to stitch with running stitch. French knots on here. Look, I've got a line of French knots there, so then the up down isn't important. So you don't need to do up down for those. So I may well do French knots, but this is what I'm saying. If I wanted to do all of this before I made your next video, then we'd still be here at Christmas. So you're going to have to, I'm telling you as best I can what I'm going to do, what my intentions are, without necessarily completing that myself. I'm not going to do running stitch here, I'm going to do French knots, I've decided, so I don't need to do up down, without me having to complete this before you're allowed to move on, because it's just not going to work that way. And I'm desperate to start you on the second sheet today as well. So I've nearly done my 3 lines. There'll be French knots going on here. Now I hesitated about doing it on the back or the front, because if I'd done it on the front, I could have still done this, but I've had to rub my lines out. But if I hadn't wanted to prick, because I want pin pricks going on here, you see, that's what I'm doing this for from the back. I decided when I was making that decision that I want pin pricks going on. So there, right, so there's my 3 lines for that one at the front. So my next one, am I the right way here? Let me get this back. I mean, I fall, every time I do something to this, something else, I fall a little bit more in love with it, and I see the benefit of doing what I did, even though that I'm thinking sometimes this is a load of rubbish. So the next time I'll leave 1.5 inches again by every circle, and I'll bring it. I won't have them the same length although bear in mind that I'm going to be cutting out my top sheet, so the one here will have to come to about there, and that one, perhaps that could be quite short, you know, so try and mix and match that. And Deanna, what I was talking about with you, Deanna put a wonderful picture of a manhole cover on Flickr yesterday and saying she was going to start a new design sheet with it. Well, absolutely, yeah, go on, please do. But you could use that to inspire this, because I'm going to draw in here in a minute. So you could use that for this. That's what I meant by that. So, you know, you think about that, Deanna, or start another one. That's what I was meaning there. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pin prick this. Where have I put that needle? Did I put it back in here? So what I want room to doodle, but I also want something different going on in terms of texture. So by this line here, from the back, I'm just going to randomly pinprick along this line that's already set with those other holes to create like an uneven organic edge of texture. Can you see that now, how that's building? Maybe not, but you will see it in the pictures. I could pull in, but you could guarantee that I'd move the paper and you wouldn't be able to see what I was doing. Be very, very careful not to crease your paper when you're doing this, because all this work, can you imagine? So, and I keep checking, I have a look, and that's sufficient for me. You can do them closer together if you want, but for me, that's sufficient. Can you see? Maybe you can't even see. I've got a really dry throat. So all the way down from the back, and from the back it gives you a textured effect on the front. If you don't want a textured effect, I'm wondering if I've got so if I use this, because I'm going to cut this off from the front. Oh, that was my phone, I don't know what's happening there. From the front it gives you a different effect, so maybe get a scrap of paper and see what you want to do. It's still a nice effect from the front, but you don't get that texture, which is what I want with this. So all the way down, and I'm conscious of file size here, so I'm just going to keep checking. What I'm going to do when I've done this one down here, this texture, I'm going to turn off and then start again for the next video, because the file sizes sometimes can be a pain to upload and it delays me, because YouTube has a hissy fit and says it doesn't want it because it's too big and stuff. So I'm really dry because I never shut up. Right, so nearly at the bottom now, and then if I turn that over, there, beautiful texture there. So I'm going to put my needle away and I'm going to turn off and then turn on again immediately.